Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Karen Williams, who is running for State Board of Education in Ward 7. How are you, Karen?
I'm fine today. How are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for joining us here today. Hey, let's begin with a little bit about your background and why you've decided to run this year.
Well, I majored in elementary special education from George Washington University because my brother, my baby brother, who I had to bring up because my mother traveled extensively, had some issues with behavior, a little bit of, he was just a little in a lot of trouble and on drugs. And so it was my duty, or I felt it was my duty to help him through that situation. And that's when I got involved in education because I saw that that was the way out of the problem.
Ah, I see, I see. Well, tell me some of the biggest issues that you would like to tackle, if elected to the State Board of Education.
Well, the State Board of Education is a unique independent agency that's actually not under the DC Public School umbrella, but from the I'm sorry, I thought you were saying something. But an organization or entity that is bound by federal guidelines versus state or city guidelines. And a lot of people don't understand that, but that limits our authority over what's actually going on in individual school buildings and individual LEAs, or legal educational entities. So one of the things I would like for people to understand is the role of the state board, our power, and how we can increase the voice of the State Board of Education.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, tell our viewers, why you are the choice for this specific seat.
Well, I think I'm the choice because I helped build the state board. Um, when, like I said, when I went into education, I found myself working in the office of the state superintendent of education, helping to build a state board of education that we did not have at the time. And I had to learn how to I had to first find the right contacts, the right people, make the right relationships, and then have us all work together to come up with a entity that would work for our school system.
Wonderful. Now tell me, what would you say to, constituents or voters who might be a little bit concerned because they think that, you might speak out of two sides of your mouth based on that Washington City paper article where, Ashley McClay said some racist tropes about the resolution to, remove armed police officers from DC schools, which you publicly at the time, you were against that and you called for her stepping down. However, she revealed that in private text messages, you told her that you agreed with her, but because Ebony Rose is running against you, it was all political, what you said. How would you respond to those voters who are concerned about that?
Well, I can understand their concern about that, but to be perfectly honest, I used to be one of those SBOs. I used to work in a school system and was a police officer in the building, and that's where I got. What we did was build bridges with the police officers in the community instead of building barriers between the police officers and the community, and it was a very exciting and fruitful time in my life because then I learned not to be afraid of police officers, the good that they could do for a school system or a school building, and that if you give the police officers the opportunity and the right training, which is the most paramount thing, that it was a very equitable and amiable situation, that the students in the school would come seeking help from the police officers versus being afraid of talking to them. And we could actually intervene and work on improving the situation for both the student, the parents, and the police officers.
Wonderful, wonderful. And to the voters what do you want to say specifically to voters who think, You say one thing publicly and another thing privately. How can we trust what she's really saying? How can you assure those voters?
Because if you want to look at that, I was saying one thing publicly, one thing privately. If you look at my messaging, it was the same in both situations. In other words, it was conveyed, the words weren't exactly the same, but the message that was conveyed was exactly the same message in both instances. Because I really do believe that having police officers or people who can intervene if there's trouble is a very basic right of our students. Because if you're in DC, you know that there's a lot of violence on both, a lot of violence, like gun violence. So that's why I don't feel that it's different. I feel it's equitable.
Wonderful. So about the resolution that you voted for, are you
Mhm.
now saying that you're against that resolution then?
No, I wasn't against the resolution. I was hesitant because of the other things that went down prior to that, to start another issue or to start another controversy over some things that were misinterpreted prior. And that was my hesitation. It wasn't that I was trying to speak out of both sides of my mouth. I've been doing this now for 16 years, almost 15 years. So if I was going to change my stance or my viewpoint, I would have done so long ago.
And what was the misrepresentation? Could you outline that for me?
The, that when I, okay, when I was speaking to the person you were talking about across by text, I was telling her that I do believe in having SROs in the schools, and she got upset with that um, because we have voted a different way. Um, and like I said, I voted for having SROs in schools. I voted for having SROs in schools, but when we came to the actual vote, it came out differently, and that's why she was upset, and that's why all the confusion went down the way it did.
I see, I see. And what was and so you called for her to step down and what was the
That was
specific reason for that?
that was
You,
a whole that
no,
was
go
a
ahead.
that was a different situation. That was when she was talking um, about um, she was having the discussion about how racist people are and how little black babies were doing this. And I don't remember all the verbatim what she was saying, but what she was saying was very negative, and that I did not invoke from her. That was her own statement, not something that I said to her.
Wonderful. Now tell me, what makes you stand out from the pack from, the other four challengers that you have right now? And why should voters pick you?
Okay, I think I stand out from the pack. Thank you for the question. I think I stand out from the pack because uh, I have spent the majority of my time trying to find relationships or build relationships with the deputy mayor, the mayor, and OSSI, and those educational entities that make the decisions for our state, for DC. Um, and that has allowed me to be able to sit down with these leaders, these educational leaders, and have discussions. And a lot of times, um, those interactions have turned the tide on the actual outcomes because they trust me, and after 7 years of doing this, they trust me. And like I said, I've made a few hiccups along the way, and nobody's perfect, and I'm not trying to say that I am. But if the majority of the educational leaders feel that I can do the job, then I feel that we should trust them also.
Wonderful, wonderful. And now to close this out, tell me, how can people support your campaign? How can they follow you? And how can they keep up with you?
Oh, well, I have a website and I don't have it in front of me. Oh, that's terrible. Um, oh my gosh, I don't have my website on. They didn't put my website on my write up.
Well, we will have the links in the description, so no worries. We'll have the links in the description of this video for the viewers,
I
so that
appreciate
they,
it.
of course, no problem, of course. Well,
Oh my gosh. I just want to say this quickly. I have a wonderful team behind me. They have supported me through all the ups and downs. They're all Ward 7 residents who we've met years ago, who we've been working together to try to improve the educational situation in schools east of the river. And we're planning on doing some summits so that we can finally um, solidify that goal and that vision so that we can have a Ward 7 education plan. And we have our first meeting next week. So we are all banded in Ward 7, the people who I've made relationships with, we're banding together to finally come to the point where we can develop and implement a Ward 7 educational plan. And we have made a commitment to start working on that next week.
right. Well, thanks so much, Karen. Thanks so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you, and best of luck on the election.
Thank you. I
Of
appreciate
course,
it. Have a great
definitely. And to our viewers, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.